this is Unit 12, P1 and M1, Development of Football. How football has developed. Football has developed for a lot of days back. It goes back to about 300 to 200 BC in China. There's a game called Cuju. The aim of the game was to kick the ball through the hoop, which was on poles. Football play started played in Britain. This was called mob football. This was played by entire villages, where numbers could reach up to 1,000 people. This would consist of moving the ball however you wanted from one side of the village to the other. Another early type of football was known as Calcio Florentino, which was played in the 16th century Italy. This was basically all they wanted to do was fight. It was nothing to do with like the game or anything. Football as we know it developed in 1848, where there was an introduction of the Cambridge rules, and this is where schoolboys founded some rules, and it's just developed from them. New rules were introduced, such as the crossbar being introduced in 1875, 90-minute games were set up in 1877, and whistles were introduced for the referees in 1878. The first football club to be founded was Sheffield FC in 1857. The Industrial Revolution, how it developed. This is a turning point in football. This was in 1780 and 1860. More machinery was built, such as trains and railways and everything. This means that players can get from one side of the country to the other, which means they had more places to play, and leagues were set up so they could play against each other. When professionalism was introduced, this gave men who had lost their jobs during the war a chance to earn money playing football. As this spread throughout the country, more men were playing football, which meant more football clubs were being founded. Another effect that the Industrial Revolution had on the early in the 20th century, as the Industrial Revolution trains, as I said before, meant that they could get more places and they could move to either Wales or Scotland, and they would be able to get there. The Agricultural Society. This was responsible for the creation of mob football. Mob football consists of about 1,000 players on each team. The goal normally be at different ends of the village. Whole villages would play against each other. And mob football is still played annually in the village of Ashbourne in Derby, where there's one goal each side of the village, and thousands of people still turn up to play this game. World War I and II, both of the World Wars had an impact on football. Due to the outbreak of World War I, the leagues had to be suspended because all the men went to go off and fight. There was a very high ratio of women to men. Women had decided that they would play football as well, so women's football started to be introduced during the First World War. Although competitive football had been suspended during the war, an unofficial wartime league was set up. As World War II started, the league was suspended, same as the First World War. The wars had an effect on the clubs as players were called up to the army in order to fight in the war. A famous day in World War I, during Christmas of 1914, Germany and Britain had a football game, like a temporary set piece on Christmas Day. The 20th century football was very much a turning point in football in terms of how it progressed and the amount of countries that adopted football. Football League was founded by 12 clubs in 1888. There was an increase to 40 clubs in 1905 to 6. In the 1920s, a new division was introduced to accommodate the expansion of the new clubs, and this was called Division 3. In 1923, Wembley Stadium opened, becoming the national stadium, hosting its cup final between Bolton Wanderers and West Ham United. By the late 1920s, Everton had won the league thanks to introducing goals from corner kicks and the relaxation of the offside rule. In the 1930s, the first FIFA World Cup was held in Uruguay, but with the FA restriction for FIFA, it meant that England weren't able to play in the first 3 World Cups, as the match between Wolverhampton Wanderers and the Hungarian side, Budapest Honvéd, was created by inspiration of the creation of the European Cup. In 1846, the Factory Act was introduced, making working conditions better, limiting the time that they were allowed to work, which meant that once they'd finished work, they were allowed to come out of the factory and go play football. How football has developed, the influence of the schools, as I said before. In Cambridge, 2 schoolboys came up with different sets of rules. This is where you get rugby and football from, because one person wanted to be able to throw the ball and the other wanted to be able to kick it. And the reason it's called rugby is because that's where the town that it was founded. Organisations, you've got FIFA, UEFA, FA, PFA, Premier League, the Football League Trust, LMA. FIFA is the Federation for International Football Association. It's the international governing body of football, and it was founded on the 24th of May 1904. UEFA, Union of European Football Association, the governing body of Europe, and it's founded on the 15th of June 1954. The FA is the Football Association, the governing body for football in England, and it's founded in 1863. The PFA, Professional Football Association, founded in 1907. The PFA is an organisation that puts the players first. Their role is to improve conditions, rights and status of the players. Premier League, the top of the English football, formed in 1992. 20 clubs split away from the Football League to make the Premier League. The Premier League is currently sponsored by Barclays Bank. The Football League Trust, established in 2007, the Football League Trust is a charity that works within the community to improve health and education and reduce crime. They also want to tackle social issues like homelessness. The LMA, League Managers Association, founded in 1992. The LMA is a collective voice of managers in the top 4 tiers of the English League pyramid, protecting the rights and controls of managers. The CCPR, after 66 years under the name CCPR, which stands for Central Council of Physical Recreation, many people didn't understand the name. The new name is the Sport and Recreation Alliance. It tells people so much more about the organisation and how it works. There are alliances of sport recreation organisations, representative bodies in the sector. The Sport Recreation Alliance is an umbrella for organisations and governing bodies, such as in the UK, there's 320 members, such as organisations like the FA, Rugby Football Union and UK Athletics. They also speak on behalf of other people. They speak on behalf of other people, like the FA, if they wanted to voice opinion across, and the CCPR goes and voices it for them.